Welcome to part 3 of my Bloodborne Lorethrough. We've got a lot to cover this time around, so let's get started, and it's time to tackle the oh-so-fun Chalice dungeons. Honestly, these aren't so bad, but you have to tackle them as you get the necessary ingredients because they don't scale with your level, so doing them later will leave a lot of them feeling too easy until you get into the deeper layers. But quickly before that, we go see German and he tells us to ascend Oedon Chapel, where we should find a workshop once used by the hunters of the Healing Church. We'll do that after our first trip into the dungeons though. Now we know that hunters enter these dungeons as a means of communion with other hunters, and we'll likely find some information on the so-called Great Ones, seeing as this is where the Bergenworth scholars found the holy medium for their blood healing. Also, we got the Tumeru Chalice after defeating the Bloodstaff beast, which explains that when a ritual is performed, a seal to the Tomb of the Gods is broken. At this point we assume that these dungeons were built by the Great Ones, and the fact that you can only access them from the Hunter's Dream suggests that the dream is also a concoction of these Great Ones. Anyway, inside the Tumeru Chalice we find a boss known as the Undead Giant. This is the same creature that we can see patrolling outside of the Cathedral Ward. We don't yet know how, but somehow the Healing Church got these big guys to work for them, and since the other enemies we find outside the chapel are also larger than normal humans, I think it's safe to assume that these guys also came from the dungeons. We aren't a high enough level yet for the rest of this dungeon, but we'll come back here shortly. Time to ascend Oedon Chapel. After killing the Bloodstaff beast, another path opened up to us in the chapel. Although this is a rather short area, the amount of lore that can be found here is unreal. First we find the Communion rune, which reads, a secret symbol left by Carol, runesmith of Bergenworth. Several runes relate to blood, including Communion, which raises the maximum number of blood vials one may carry. This rune represents the Healing Church and its ministers. Blood ministration is, of course, the pursuit of communion. For those who don't know, communion is the sharing of thoughts, feelings, or ideas on a mental or spiritual level. In Christianity, communion is what we do in remembrance and honor of Jesus Christ, who willingly shed his blood for our salvation. We partake in bread and wine, which is representative of Christ's blood and body. I don't think that this act of communion in Bloodborne is directly inspired by what we Christians do, but it does give us an angle on how we can possibly view what communion represents in Bloodborne. Clearly, blood is consumed for its healing properties, but since it's the pursuit of communion, we can safely assume that the blood is that of the Great Ones. Don't believe me? Check this out. The formless Oedon rune reads as follows. The Great One Oedon, lacking form, exists only in voice and is symbolized by this rune. Those who memorize it enjoy a larger supply of quicksilver bullets. Human or no, the oozing blood is a medium of the highest grade and the essence of the formless Great One, Oedon. Both Oedon and his inadvertent worshippers surreptitiously seek the precious blood. Oh, by the way, this rune is found on a balcony inside Oedon Chapel, accessed through this little gap in the elevator. Now this Carol character created these runes for various purposes it seems, but that's all we have on her for now. We are learning now that the blood used and worshipped by the church and the Yarnamites is that of these Great Ones. We also learned that the Healing Church possibly knew that this blood would change any who drank from it, just not in the way that they were expecting. But as we explore, we eventually find the abandoned workshop, which gives us some answers regarding the Great Ones and the conception of the Hunter's Dream. The first third umbilical cord reads, a great relic, also known as the Cord of the Eye. Every infant Great One has its precursor to the umbilical cord. Every Great One loses its child and then yearns for a surrogate. The third umbilical cord precipitated the encounter with the pale moon, which beckoned the hunters and conceived the Hunter's Dream. Used to gain insight and, so they say, eyes on the inside, although no one remembers what that truly entails. So this umbilical cord accidentally caused an encounter with the pale moon, another Great One, which drew the hunters to it and then created the Hunter's Dream. Now I'm not sure if this conception of the Hunter's Dream is the reason that this real-world version of the workshop is abandoned, seeing as the Hunter's Dream is identical to this one, but it does make sense if the hunters did not intend to have an encounter with this pale moon and it, being a great one, had the power to pull them out of the waking world and place them in the dream along with their workshop. This would also explain why a doll, as seen in the workshop, is alive and has the ability to turn echoes of blood into strength inside the dream. The old hunter bone suggests that this was the workshop in which German originally led and trained the hunters, and this umbilical cord was in his possession when they came into contact with the pale moon. At the top of the tower we find a note which reads, "The sky and the cosmos are one, quote unquote, the choir." If this is to be taken literally, the cosmos is likely where these great ones came from and the sky is where they currently reside. This assumption is drawn from the fact that 1. Oedon is a formless great one as the sky is formless, and 2. The pale moon in the sky, you get it. I can't play dumb for every piece of lore we find. Anyway, we return to the hunter's dream to give the doll the small hair ornament, where she responds as follows.
What? What is this? I can't remember. Not a thing, only I feel a yearning, something I never felt before. What's happening to me? Tell me, Hunter, could this be joy?
The doll attire states that whoever made this attire had clearly shown a great deal of love towards the doll. I know this sounds very strange, but for now don't make assumptions on why this doll was shown love. After giving her the ornament, she gives us a gem that can be used to gain the blood tear gem, which gradually restores your HP. This gem is described as a quiet but unfaltering friend. So yeah, the doll is wholeheartedly your friend. Going back down the tower, we can find a little part of town which hides a bagman and a brain sucker, both of whom we know nothing about at this point, so we'll come back to them once we get some lore. I will say though, the brain sucker brings up a lot of questions, since it's clearly not a beast, and when he grabs you, he steals your insight. What reason could he have for wanting to keep you from accumulating too much insight? He also looks and sounds like an alien chewing with his mouth open, so gross. We also pick up the sweaty clothes down here, which turns you into a Dex player the moment you equip them. At the end of this part of town, we can take a lift that takes us up and puts us right behind the gate outside of Oedon Chapel. This of course means that now we don't need to cough up 10,000 souls to open a gate. To our left we see a ladder, and at the top we find the numbing mist, which mentions the blood hunters of Cainhurst. This is now the second time we've heard about Cainhurst and these Valbloods. I just didn't mention it before since there was literally nothing else to it than the word Valblood. Making our way through this area, we first head down the heavily guarded stairs, climb to a rooftop and find a note that tells us the password that leads to Bergenworth is the sacred adage of the Grand Cathedral. We now finally know what to look for. Further down this rooftop, we climb back down to ground level, dispatch a few beasts and see another brainsucker. He can't reach us though, so we're safe. The citizens here have somewhat higher spirits and seem less hostile towards hunters. We find a few more people to send to safety. One is a street corner entrepreneur and the other is an annoying asshole. And we tell them both to go to Oedon Chapel. Wink wink. We also pick up the Black Church Hunter outfit, which reveals some disturbing lore about how the church deals with sicknesses that they create. Most healing church hunters are elementary doctors who understand the importance of early prevention of the scourge achieved by disposing of victims and even potential victims before signs of the sickness manifest themselves. Their black attire is synonymous with fear and that peculiar Yhar'gul madness. So yeah, these guys are messed up. Imagine offing people because you thought that by sharing some ancient blood with them would help them become closer with some random Asgard that they know nothing about, and when it went south, you blame them for getting sick or going mad. Anyway, the set looks cool, so we equip it. Moving forward, we find more giants patrolling around, and for some reason, a crap ton of insight can be picked up here. Oh, and we also opened Ludwig's expensive gate. Off to the side we can head down more stairs and find the locked door leading to the tangled woods that would take us to Bergenworth. But we of course need to backtrack since we don't have the password yet. Back at the chapel we can find Ariana, the whore, but the asshole is nowhere to be found. Oh no, I hope nothing happens to him. Funnily enough, you can gain one insight when you visit Yosefka after sending someone to her, as if she's something else entirely. Outside the chapel we ran into Eileen again and she warns us not to go to the area where we killed Gascoigne. Apparently someone named Henryk went mad, so of course we're gonna go have a look, and sure enough, he attacks us. Luckily Eileen steps in and also thanks us for our help. Now remember when I said that Eileen pointing out our humanity would be more relevant later on? Well, here's why.
You must have killed Gascoigne as well then. He was falling apart, I'm sure it had to be done. But try to keep your hands clean. A hunter should hunt beasts. Leave the hunting of hunters to me.
In the inside bath you can also find Henryk's outfit, which reads, "The taciturn old hunter Henryk was once partners with Father Gascoigne, and though they were a fierce and gallant duo, their partnership led to Henryk's tragically long life." Is he the granddad that the little girl mentioned? Yes, I believe he might be, although I'm not sure what their relationship has to do with Henryk's tragically long life. Anyway, as we run past every enemy on our way to the Grand Cathedral, at the top we notice two paths diverging to the left and the right, so we go left. I swear we will reach the Grand Cathedral in this video. This path takes us to Bullshit Forest, where a shit ton of gunners and dogs await your arrival. But be smart and just run straight through to the following lamp before taking them all on, because things can go sideways here very quickly. We finally found Hemwick Charnel Lane, the place mentioned in the Bone Marrow Ashes description, and it's different here. Firstly, the new enemy type is your mother-in-law, and these ladies are crazy as hell. Not beast crazy though, just normal crazy. This entire area is filled with dead, dismembered and dissected bodies, cluing us in on the fact that they harvest people here for their organs. The bloodshot eyeball found on this guillotine tells us that they were harvested for ritual materials. The amount of actual lore we pick up here isn't as dense, but this area is definitely one of the most sinister and disturbing places we've come across so far. But the lore we do uncover here suggests a lot of things that we previously haven't been exposed to yet. For example, the lake rune tells us that deep pools of water guard us against the eldritch truth of the Great Ones and the horrors that come along with them. The body of water in question will come into play a little later, but this is the item that clues you in on what to do when you finally get there. And hey look, it's the home of our executioner friends as well. We met one of these back in central Yarnum, where he was surrounded by coffins, possibly looking to collect some fresh corpses for harvesting. At the end of this area we find the Witch of Hemwick, the first gimmick boss of the game. She's not nearly as tough as the other bosses we have fought, but in her fight you can see that these creatures were the ones responsible for gouging out the eyes of their victims. After killing her we get to go down the stairs and pick up the rune workshop tool, which reads, "Runesmith Carol, student of Bergenworth, transcribed the inhuman utterings of the Great Ones into what are now called Carol runes. The hunter who retrieves this workshop tool can etch Carol runes into their mind to attain their wondrous strength. Provost Willem would have been proud of Carol's runes, as they do not rely on blood in any measure." The fact that these runes aren't reliant on blood tells me that this is a matter of intellect or way of thinking that elevates our abilities as hunters, or even that of the humans. Also, we haven't really heard about Provost Willem up until this point, but the fact that he would have been proud of Carol for his or her runes might mean that he himself did not fully support the idea of using the blood as the church used it. Anyway, after finishing up here, we head back to the stairs leading to the Grand Cathedral Ward, and this time we take the right path. Nothing of real note here, just another galaxy orb that grabs you, another snatcher, more executioners, hunters and bolt paper. For those of you who didn't catch on, there is in fact a lot of things to take note of, but none of them can be talked about yet since they don't make any sense. But these aren't random. The significance of all of these different enemy types in the same place will be made very clear very shortly, so don't you worry. For now, we head back to the Chalice dungeons and complete the second layer. After defeating the merciless trio, we get the Tumeru root chalice, which tells us more about these labyrinths. Apparently, they were carved out by the Thumerians, a race of superhumans that is said to have unlocked the wisdom of the Eldritch truth. Believe it or not, we came into contact with the Thumerians before ever setting foot in the dungeons. Further down the dungeon, we complete the third layer, and our boss is the watchdog of the old lords. At the moment we don't have much information on the good boy, but he does drop the central Thumeru chalice, which will be the second chalice that we tackle. For now, it's finally time to head to the Grand Cathedral. We head up the stairs and hear a woman praying.
Remain wary of the frailty of men. Their wills are weak, minds young. Were it not for fear, death would go unlamented. Seek the old blood. Let us pray, let us wish to partake in communion. Let us partake in communion and feast upon the old blood. Our thirst for blood satiates us, soothes our fears. Seek the old blood. But beware the frailty of men. Their wills are weak, minds young. The foul beasts will dangle nectar and lure the meek into the depths. Remain wary of the frailty of men.
This prayer seems to be keeping her sane, because when we disturb her, she lets loose and turns into a beast, or rather I should say she loses control. She clutches a gold pendant which she drops when we kill her. This pendant is a reminder to heed the adage, the one that we need to hear for the password that leads to Bergenworth. It also says to touch the skull in order to reveal the adage. Doing so reveals the single most important cutscene in the entire game.
Master Willem, I've come to bid you farewell.
Oh, I know. You think now to betray me.
No, but you will never listen. I tell you, I will not forget our adage.
We are born of the blood, made men by the blood, undone by the blood. Our eyes are yet to open.
Fear the old blood. I must take my leave.
By the gods, fear it, Lawrence.
So there is a disagreement between Lawrence and Willem, the same Willem mentioned by the Rune Workshop tool about the use of the Old Blood. From the Rune Workshop tool you can surmise that Willem was against the use of the Old Blood and says a line that reminds me of the Carol runes. Our eyes are yet to open. Whatever Lawrence had wanted to do, it was bad enough for Provost Willem to consider it a betrayal. Willem obviously thought that there was another way to advance mankind that involved the opening of eyes, a metaphor for understanding. Anyway, fear the old blood is our password since it's the line that they said in unison. Now it's time to go hunt for some answers. Oh, and killing Vicar Amelia also advanced the night, so everything will be darker now. From the Oedon Chapel, we meet another snatcher outside. I've killed plenty of you by, oh no, he kills me, who could have seen that coming? Anyway, this is Yahar'gul, the unseen village, and this place is something else. You can almost immediately feel the sinister nature of this place It is one of the only areas in the entire game with music of its own in the background. If you head down from your cell, you can come across a nun from the church praying, and you can hear the fear in her voice.
Oh, merciful God, help me. In the name of the healing church, cleanse us of this horrible dream.
Since I was already wearing the black church hunter outfit, she has mistaken me for a member of the healing church, and interestingly enough, gifts me with a madman's knowledge. Turns out, these snatchers have gone around and abducted more than just the two of us. We send her to Oedon Chapel and continue through this place. We find a lamp, but curiosity has taken hold, so we continue exploring and find two interesting items. The moon rune tells us that there are great ones who inhabit the nightmare and that they are sympathetic, which leads to them sometimes answering when called upon. In the abandoned workshop, we found out that the third umbilical cord accidentally caused an encounter with the pale moon, which beckoned the hunters and created the hunter's dream. Outside we find a note which reads, "Behold a pale blood sky," and when we look up we can see a pale moon. Our entire objective has been to find pale blood to transcend the hunt, and now we find out what pale blood is. It's the freaking great one who created the hunter's dream, which is part of a nightmare realm. Opposite the lamp is a note which reads, "Nightmarish rituals crave a newborn. Find one and silence its harrowing cry." We don't yet know what this means, but its significance will be made obvious much later in the game. Down a flight of stairs we can find the Yahar'gul hunter attire. Apparently these guys answer to the School of Menses, which founded this creepy place. Also, they weren't true hunters, they only wore this to blend into the night in order to kidnap people. Since they answer to the School of Menses, I'm going to go ahead and assume that they and the school are evil assholes who kidnap people in order to strip them for ritual materials. Remember that side path which I said will make more sense later? Yeah, that area is probably the way to the School of Menses, since it's being guarded by executioners, snatchers and hunters. This school is also then responsible for the deplorable crap that happens in Hemwick Charnel Lane, and the unseen village here is where they find their victims. But we're still not done here. We pick up the tonitrus and bolt paper and we fight the dark beast Paul, who drops the Spark Hunter badge upon death. All of which tell us the story of Archibald. Archibald was an eccentric inventor who had a weird obsession with the blue sparks that blanketed a dark beast. His creations were not liked very much by most hunters, particularly his weapons like the tonitrus, but they were very much inspired by these blue sparks, and as it turns out, they worked really well. The bolt paper, however, found use among many hunters, so it's possible that his weapons were the problem, not necessarily the sparks. Regardless of his weirdness, his methods of reproducing the sparks were close to the quality of the research conducted by the scholars of Bergenworth, who are said to be some of the smartest dudes around. Still though, there is a chance that Archibald wasn't the most savory of characters. Dark Beast Paul here is one of the very few named beasts throughout the game, so it's possible that Archibald took someone named Paul and experimented on them, which led to said person turning into a dark beast, but we can't know for sure. That wraps up Yahar'gul, the Unseen Village, which means that it's now finally time to make our way to Bergenworth. Alright, that wraps up the video. Clearly I tried taking a different approach this time around. Instead of being all energetic and trying to be funny, I tried a slower, more deliberate pace. Hopefully it worked out well. I am listening back to it and I'm kind of bored, but if you guys enjoy the slower delivery of my script and if it maybe adds some tension, do let me know if you prefer this or the way I have been doing my videos, the previous 2 videos at least. But until then, the next video will come out probably in a week or so from this one. I just need to see how this one performs so that I know which approach to take going forward. But if you made it to this point, I highly appreciate it, and if you would consider hitting that like button and subscribing. I definitely am enjoying the lore aspect of it a lot more, so that might be the focus the channel goes. I never knew deep diving the lore of these games was going to be so fun, but I'm enjoying it, and I'm planning on tackling all the other games if this series does end up doing well. But yeah, until next time, stay safe and may God bless you all.